Okay, it is 5 o'clock Eastern Time. So I'd like to wish everyone good afternoon. I'm Yael Cassander, Communications Director for the City of Bloomington, Indiana, coming to you live from the Shower City Hall building in beautiful downtown Bloomington. You've probably heard about international sister cities relationships. Well, today we're excited to announce the first domestic bond of this nature, one of sibling cities in the USA. So first up, the mayors of the nation's first two sibling cities will introduce themselves and tell you more about this agreement. And then after their discussion, they'll answer questions from the press and the public. So please go ahead and type your questions into the Zoom chat or the comments section in YouTube or Facebook if you're watching there. So next, I'd like to introduce the mayor of Palo Alto, California, Tom Dubois.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tom Dubois, and I'm very happy we're announcing this relationship between Palo Alto and Bloomington. And I just wanted to share a little background. Today's announcement really caps a multi-year journey for me. In 2017, one of our county supervisors toured the country meeting with folks after that presidential election. And he and I talked about the discussions that he had and the disillusionment and challenges that he heard from voters around the country. And at that time, I was working on some hardware products at Google. And all the manufacturing work was being outsourced overseas. And I was asking myself, why can't we send some of this business to companies here in the US? And a few months later, I went to Cleveland, Ohio through an outreach program that Google funded to bring resources to entrepreneurs and small businesses. And I saw firsthand really the eagerness to connect. I grew up in Northeastern Ohio. It's once a proud steel and manufacturing center. And that area has really fallen on some hard times. It was hard hit by unemployment and the opioid epidemic. And we've all seen the division in our country. And personally, I believe most of us long for our country to come together again. So Palo Alto has 8 international sister cities. And as an elected local official, I started thinking, why don't we do the same thing in the US? We can build empathy, understanding, bridge our differences, share opportunities, and even look at how businesses could benefit from working from our regional strengths. And maybe some of those plastic widgets that Google is making overseas could be made here. And I started talking to people about this idea. I found some like-minded people, some that you'll be hearing from in a bit. And together we're making it happen. And I'm thrilled to announce this first step with Bloomington and Indiana being the first 2 US sibling cities. And my hope that this is just going to be one of many such relationships. Our country is divided on economic, regional, racial, and philosophical lines. And it's our job as leaders to heal these divides. We need unity and optimism. And I truly believe we can start with small steps at the local city level with cultural exchanges, service projects, and business connections, and really develop a wonderful friendship. So I took several trips in May to Indiana and Ohio, and the most productive and fun meeting I had was with the mayor and the team in Bloomington. And it's my pleasure to introduce John Hamilton. John?
Thank you so much. I'll call you Tom, Mayor Dubois. I appreciate it and your wonderful comments. I'm John Hamilton, the mayor of Bloomington, Indiana. And I am very excited for our community as we join this way with a new sibling city, Palo Alto. This will go to our city councils next. These are a couple mayors that are talking about what we think is a great opportunity for our cities, and we hope our councils will follow, and thereafter much more to come. Tom, I appreciated the way you talked. This has been a difficult several years, certainly most recently with the pandemic and the economic collapse that went with that, and the societal stresses you referenced, political stresses, dislocation, distrust, misinformation, disinformation, and really a palpable divisiveness that we see. But I think as mayors, we also know communities, our communities, pursue the quality of life for everybody in our community. We're full of practical and creative problem solvers at a community level. We have also, I know, seen amazing collaboration and problem solving and creativity during this pandemic, helping communities wrestle with very challenging problems. Heck, I didn't know how to do a Zoom meeting, 20 months ago, and here we are doing a press conference in these new ways. And of course, 100 more serious and impactful things that have happened in our communities too. And I'm very confident that just increasing connections between two communities, strong links between a coastal community and a Midwestern community that are both full at the community level of these practical, creative problem solvers, that can really pay big dividends socially, economically, culturally, politically. Our communities always change and evolve to meet new challenges. Tom, I was thinking, we're both mayors of 19th century cities, begun in the 19th century. Of course, histories go back farther than that into the 17th and 18th century European settlements, and thousands of years before that of Native American peoples. For our own community, it's the Shawnee, the Potawatomi, the Miami, the Delaware that were here and stewarded this land, and that change has continued. We honor that history, and then lately in the 20th into the 21st century, these communities, like all communities, meet challenges, and they're big ones in front of us. I am really excited about this collaboration. This will be a community-led effort. We got a couple mayors announcing this and city councils that we hope will endorse it soon, but it really is going to be a community-led effort. We don't know precisely what will come out of it. We have experience with international cities. I do believe there's great potential for education exchanges and cultural interactions and commercial interactions, civic engagement. And I have to say, Tom, and to all of your friends and residents out there, we can't wait to get to know our sibling community better and better, and look forward to that in the weeks and months and years ahead. So I just want to thank you, Mayor Tom, and all your colleagues and fellow residents, and we really look forward to exploring this together. And I think next we want to give a platform to somebody who really helped further this idea and articulate and frame what this could be. And that's Vicki Venker, who is the founder and leader of Sibling Cities USA. And Vicki was instrumental in helping us find each other and connect, and also kind of giving a framework for this, and has a kind of a bigger picture of where this might go to. So Vicki, I'm going to hand it to you, and then maybe Tom and I'll get back, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Mayor Hamilton. It's exciting to see you two mayors discussing this historic relationship. I've envisioned this moment for a very long time. So thank you, Mayor Dubois and Mayor Hamilton, for your vision in leading these great cities into this new and exciting Sibling Cities USA relationship. You've given us a taste of what's to come. These terrific cities are both full of interesting and talented people. Learning more about the other will break stereotypes left and right, literally. For example, both towns started off on farmland, not just the one in Indiana. In fact, Stanford is still nicknamed the farm. There are a few people who have roots in both places, including Stanford's women's basketball coach, Tara Vanderveer. She and I both did our undergraduate work at Indiana University and then showed up in Palo Alto to pursue our careers. Of course, only one of us has a national championship. But most people in the two towns don't know much about the other beyond stereotypes. In 2017, my teenage daughter and I took a 3.5-week road trip from Palo Alto to Bloomington and back, taking different routes each way. We made a point to chat with people we encountered, and we noticed that they reacted differently depending on whether we introduced ourselves as being from Silicon Valley or on our way back to Indiana. What they assumed about us and what they shared with us varied accordingly, even though we were the same people and both things were true. The bottom line is, many Americans don't really know each other, and that is contributing to our problems today. Just in the last couple of weeks, people in California who support this project have mentioned that key to Bloomington is corn and cornfields. Well, there are a few cornfields near Bloomington, but the Rocky Hills of South Central Indiana hardly allow for it to be the leading key industry in this college town. So we think we know each other, but what we believe is largely based on stereotypes, not on direct interaction. That is dividing us, and Americans are tired of it. Sibling Cities USA will help, breaking stereotypes, discovering interconnectedness, building friendship, relationship, trust, and respect among Americans in different regions of our country is why I founded Sibling Cities USA. These two cities, Bloomington and Palo Alto, will be the first to break down barriers using Sibling Cities USA's 3 pillars of connection. They are the 3 C's: community, commerce, and civil discourse. The first pillar, community, will let artists, teachers, students, service organizations, advocacy groups, garden clubs, athletes, and more get to know each other. The second pillar, commerce, allows the business community to compare notes and explore opportunities. The third pillar, civil discourse, will help us have a conversation with people distant from us and hear each other out with trust and respect on the issues facing our great nation. So these cities will be the first, but they won't be the last. Sibling Cities USA is eager to grow and expand the network of sibling city pairs across the land, doing all we can to promote unity and knit this country back together at this critical moment. Americans are ready. Most people who learn about Sibling Cities USA immediately suggest a city to be involved, usually their hometown. The enthusiasm for the concept has far exceeded my expectations. A wide range of national leaders have joined the Sibling Cities USA Advisory Board and/or issued statements of support. We are delighted that 2 such statements are from members of Congress representing Palo Alto, Representative Anna Eshoo, and Bloomington, Representative Trey Hollingsworth, evidencing the bipartisan support for our efforts. This is where we start, by opening our hearts and minds and reaching out to each other in a way that promotes unity and allows us to realize the tremendous potential and great strengths of the United States of America. So thanks for joining us on this journey. And with that, I will turn it back to the mayors.
Thank you, Vicki. That was excellent summary. And it really is amazing that this hasn't happened before. As we work through this, there just hasn't been a domestic program. And, as John said, we're proposing this. Our next steps are to go to our respective councils. Palo Alto is actually discussing this on Monday. And, I want to invite you, Mayor Hamilton, to attend our meeting via Zoom. Love to have you kind of pop in and say a few words to the Palo Alto City Council.
That's terrific. Thank you. I've never spoken to the Palo Alto City Council before, so that would be exciting for me. I appreciate it. And Tom, as we've shared, and Vicki, you mentioned it too, when you start talking to people about it, the ideas just start to pop. People start to think about high schoolers, people start to think about service clubs, people start to think about art exchanges or sharing or co-productions, or they start to think about education and so many, we have higher education is such a big part of both of our cities. And it's really exciting to think about. And we don't know how to get started. We're thinking about exchanges, physical visits. I'm thinking about sending you a gift basket, Tom, that gives you a little flavor of some of Bloomington that you came and visited, and that kind of thing. But we also kind of want to unleash the communities, unleash our creative, practical, good people who want to think about how do we knit ourselves together and learn more and appreciate so much the opportunity.
And you'll be getting a gift basket as well. As you said, this is really community led. And in Palo Alto, we have a nonprofit called Neighbors Abroad that helps manage our city relationships. And they are fully behind this. And I see Bob Wenslow, who's the president, is also here on the chat. But we've had a lot of community members very excited about this, and I also see Megan Fogarty from Stanford is here, and so I think we're going to get off to a solid start.
Very good. Yeah, Alan, maybe we've got questions starting to come in. Before, if you wait too long, we're going to start to wager on the upcoming women's basketball game, Stanford and IU, which will be really fun. Maybe we can watch that together, Tom. That'd be a kick.
It always comes down to sports.
Right. Doesn't happen often. They're actually playing on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
And I was thinking we have our two cities have unusual names for our teams. I really don't know what a Hoosier is, and I don't know if you know what the Cardinal are, but it's not the bird. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I don't. We need to share that too. That's part of it. Good.
So we do have some questions coming in on the chat for the mayors and Vicki Vinker. And we'll be posting a link to the press release for this initiative in the chat as well, as soon as we post that to our news site. So look for that. Here are questions from Boris Ladwig, a reporter at the Herald Times in Bloomington. He asks, what will be the first concrete steps to create these connections? And also, how will we know that the effort is working?
Thanks, Boris, for the question. A couple things I would say. First, one of the first concrete steps is having a local steering committee, a local committee, and those are kind of under information already with coordinators in each city. So practically speaking, getting a group of people who start to sit down and think about that precisely. There's no playbook exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if early next year there's some physical visits back and forth between the cities. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some service club, educational, other kinds of things that will happen. I think the question of how to measure it is a really good one. I know Vicki thinks about that some. I know we have already articulated we want to kind of have a 1-year target date to say let's see what happens and let's come back to our city councils and report on that, and course correct as needed or amplify wherever. And of course, Tom or Vicki jump in too.
I think you covered it all. Yeah, and again, part of the proposal to our council is that we will have annual reporting on kind of progress.
And one of the things I've talked with our respective city coordinators about is tracking our progress and looking not just at how many events, how many people participate, but trying to get some sort of survey out there to see how they feel about them, what they learned, what went well, what we can learn from. I mean, the point of this first project is to learn, is to figure out how to do this better. And so we're going to be tracking that closely as we go.
All right, a question next from Gennady Shiner, who asks, despite their regional differences, Bloomington and Palo Alto are predominantly Democratic. So if a key purpose is to bridge the nation's divide, why didn't the two cities consider siblings or conservative leanings?
Yeah, Gennady, thanks for the question. We did look for cities that had differences and similarities, and Bloomington and Palo Alto are roughly about the same size. We are both university towns. We share a lot of interest in things like climate change, also issues like housing. Some of the differences, though, Bloomington may be a bit more democratic. They really are in a conservative part of the country. If you think about our states, I think the states themselves are different. And then, ultimately, it really comes down to, again, communities leading the relationship. And there were a lot of interested people in both cities in making this happen. And, John and Vicki, I'm sure you guys might have some thoughts on this as well, but I think, we're really looking to get off on a strong start. And, this was a relationship that I think it's going to be very interesting. We're going to learn a lot from each other. We do have some differences, but we also want to be successful. And so, we thought this was a good place to start.
Yeah, I would just add, I agree with all that. And sometimes, who you date when you start, that's what turns out. So, that's where we go. But I would also say this as a mayor, and this is a very serious point to remind people of, as a mayor, that even if your city is deemed a Democratic city or a Republican city, your city is full of all kinds of people. Even the most Republican city or the most Democratic city is purple. It's full of all kinds of people, and their voices are important. Recognizing the relationships and the stereotypes that were mentioned is important for all of us. And no doubt there will be future, I hope, sibling cities that will have different kinds of variations and similarities. But I do think Bloomington and Palo Alto are quite different in many ways, with Palo Alto inside one of the nation's largest metropolitan areas, a very dense metropolitan area. Bloomington really in a pretty rural southern Indiana geography and region. Obviously different histories. So yes, there are commonalities, but there are much more diversity in all of us than we sometimes like to recognize. And that'll be really important, I think, as we go forward too.
And I would just add, Gennady, at 2 points. One, this project is about breaking stereotypes. And there are a lot of people who would not know that premise, right? For whom a town in South Central Indiana being Democratic is a surprise. So that's one thing. The second thing is that following this, I hope there are towns that are diverse in different ways, that we can get some north-south connections. We can get some that are perhaps more conservative. We can get a conservative and a progressive town together. We can connect different ways and explore, get larger towns, smaller towns. So I think this is the start. This is where we test it out and we learn how to do this, but there's a lot of opportunity to have more diverse relationships as we proceed.
Thanks, Vicki. And I remind everyone gathered that you may submit questions in the chat of the Zoom call or in the comments section of YouTube or Facebook. We have another question. Megan Sweezy Fogarty says she likes the idea of people meeting each other, and Vicki's road trip might be a model. I like that idea too. How do you envision making introductions to build those relationships in a concrete way?
Vicki, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll start. And so I've been meeting with the two fabulous city coordinators that we have. I'm going to name them. We have Andy Reed in Palo Alto and Karen Howe Fernandez in Bloomington, and their names and contact information will be on the Sibling Cities website, so you can access them. But I've been talking to them about, how we stage this. So at first, we can do a lot of things on Zoom. But as we move along, as resources allow and weather allows, and a make sense basis, we'd like to have some delegations go back and forth. Perhaps the mayors could each do that. Perhaps even our schools could do a service trip in a third location. So I think that there's nothing like that in-person relationship, but luckily, we can start with Zoom. We still do have, elements of the pandemic, and so this can enhance what we do. But we do hope to build it out to include some in-person events.
We've included in some of our early discussions on our steering committee, people from our Rotary Club and our Kiwanis Club, I think are really excited about connecting with Bloomington clubs. And I agree with Vicki, like nothing beats in person. We also had the director of our art museum join in, and she was very excited about the idea of, maybe exchanging art exhibits. So I think there can be really a wide range of connections.
I'll just add, governments play a role in helping get this going and setting some framework and connections, but I do think ultimately it's going to be driven by, on the ground, a school teacher who decides, hey, let's try a co-teaching, or a drama production leader said, what if we had shared leads but choruses in each place, or who knows? There's all kinds of ideas. Now, I've offered to Tom to trade mayor for a day too. I don't know if he'll do that, but I take his seat for a day and he comes out here. Council member President Jim Sims is on. Maybe we do it as a team. I don't know. We won't do anything official. Don't worry. We won't mess anything up. But it'd be kind of interesting because we have different styles of government too, and our actual government, both in the city and then the state relationship and others are kind of interesting to realize things aren't always just the way they are in your city, and you can get different ideas in other places.
Well, terrific. We have more details about the agreement that Palo Alto and Bloomington are entering into on our website at the bloomington.in.gov/news. The link to the press release is shared on social media and in the Zoom chat if you'd like to learn more. And we still have a few moments left in our press conference to take your questions if you have any. I'll send it back to the mayors and Vicki Vinker for closing remarks otherwise.
You want to go in reverse order? Vicki, you want to start, and then we'll let, what do you think? We didn't plot this all out.
Sure. I didn't know I was going to have the opportunity, but I'm happy to have it to give some closing remarks, because please join us. Like, if you're in one of these two cities, sign up, get involved in whatever way makes sense. If you're not and you have thoughts about this, let us know. If you want to get involved in helping me build the national program, let us know. We can scale this as fast as there's interest, and both in this first pilot and generally. And the moment is now. So the faster we can do this, the better. And we want all comers. We want this to be a reflection of the communities and all of its various facets.
Thanks so much. And Vicki, thank you for your dedication to this and creativity and moxie to keep it going. Sometimes we think about the 2020s, the decade we're in. The decade began with a pandemic, historic, and kind of throwing us off our game in some ways, challenging us, but it's a critically important decade for our country, each of our communities, in confronting some of the big challenges, Tom, that you talked about, that we all face. Being able to do that together, being able to do it with partnerships and with collaboration and learning from each other is so important. These are enormous challenges in front of us. Our communities are full of people who want us to address these challenges creatively, effectively, collaboratively together. I love that a Midwest city and a West Coast city can expand that network. We're really excited about this. Tom, I thank you for your leadership as well. And let's get it going. And in some ways, we'll get out of the way and let our communities carry this ball forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'll keep it very short. I just want to say thank you to Vicki, to John, and also to Jim Sims, who I did meet. He's the head of the council in Bloomington. Really excited about taking these next steps with our councils. And then hopefully we can have a kickoff event early next year. And like we said, visit each other's cities and really get the ball rolling on this. So thanks to everybody that's been involved.
Thank you, mayors and Vicki, and all of you who joined us for this historic announcement. You can say you were there when the first two domestic sibling cities were announced, Palo Alto, California, and Bloomington, Indiana. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, the press release will be available to reporters just after this.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, Yael.